This is Southern Cross News with Rachel Williams.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. The opposition leader has extended an olive branch to the Premier ahead of the first sitting week of the new Legislative Council. Rebecca White says Labor is willing to negotiate after the government conceded to the opposition's strong blocking power in the upper house.
It will be the first week in the chamber for Labor's new Legislative Councillor, but it's also the start of a challenging road ahead for the government's legislation in the upper house.
With the result in Pembroke and Labor's block now of 4 members, it does make it that much harder for us.
Labor now holds 4 of the 15 seats in the House of Review. It's no majority, but enough to keep the government firmly at the negotiating table, with the opposition now willing to wave the olive branch.
I've written to the Premier to ask for an opportunity to sit down and speak with him if he's serious about progressing his legislative agenda.
There's been no response to the request, and it doesn't appear to be on its way.
A leopard doesn't change their spots. I'm very sceptical about this behaviour and these tactics of writing letters to try to pretend to be cooperative.
If the Premier's not willing to even respond or to sit down and speak with me about it, I think it's a little bit unfair of them to say that we're not willing to negotiate.
A week of controversial legislation for the upper house. The Taswater inquiry report is due investigating the government's proposed takeover, while the phasing out of suspended sentences, which Labor has strongly opposed, is also on the agenda.
Here's the challenge for Rebecca White. Help us pass that bill. It's a key bill. It delivers on something that the government promised, and it will be on this week.
We think the government's been too ruthless and has been highly political in its use of a tough on crime mantra. They're not being smart on crime.
One the parties can agree on this week, legislation to dismiss the Glenorchy City Council. Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
A Tasmanian man has spent the night in the state's southwest after becoming lost in the Southern Ranges. Police say the 74-year-old left his wife while looking for a campsite around 7 o'clock last night. The rescue helicopter was deployed, but low cloud halted the search operation.
6 a.m. this morning, and we're stood down halfway to site because police had located him.
The Howrah man was discovered 1 kilometre from the Moonlight Ridge track in thick vegetation. Bushwalkers are reminded to always carry a personal locator beacon. The upcoming Commonwealth Games is being credited for attracting strong competition to today's Launceston Cycling Festival. Racing had a distinct European feel as the sound of cowbells rang from the crowd.
The hot day produced a gruelling challenge for those on the bike, while cowbell-clad fans had the easy job. The unmistakable sound creating a Tour de France ambience.
We've got lots of these bells out around course, I think 400 in total, so we're getting a nice little bit of support there with those bells ringing and the crowd getting involved.
There was rolling entertainment in the Hill Climb Challenge. 16 riders paired up, then eliminated one by one, until Newcastle's Cameron Ivory broke away in the last 20 metres of the final to take the $600 prize.
I didn't want to lead right from the gun. I wanted to sort of keep him right next to me, see how he's looking, and then put the power down towards the end, and looks like that worked.
Crowds started to swell by the time the main races started. Organisers say the talent pool has been bolstered by next year's Commonwealth Games, as riders made today part of their gold medal preparation.
A lot more interest in the cycling than there would be normally.
I think there's been some very exciting racing, some really close finishes, a lot of tactics.
And we're getting a really good crossover from the Tour of Tas for the men as well. So I think we've got the highest numbers we've had for the amount of entries for the men's event. So the women's event, we're a little bit lower in numbers, but we've got a quality field.
We'll bring you the winners from the elite races later in sport. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Emergency service crews from around the country have put their skills to the test in Tasmania this weekend. 8 groups challenged by several different mock emergency scenarios in a bid to foster relationships and exchange rescue skills between states.
A farmer trapped under his equipment, a realistic scenario facing emergency services.
1, 2, 3, I've got his head. Roger, that's it.
This crew today racing against the clock to plan and undertake the staged rescue, while having their techniques evaluated by the judges.
And there's always a few hairy areas where they might not get something quite right that the judges don't like, so yeah, it's about doing it the right way and the safe way.
8 state emergency service teams from around the nation taking part in this weekend's National Disaster Rescue Challenge.
We've got 8 stands around the sites and they're all designed around the basic rescue skills for SES. They challenge teams into trying to do different scenarios and events to get through stands.
Numerous scenarios such as clearing this bogged vehicle, allowing teams to utilise and hone their skills and techniques.
I'm going to get Nick over there, you're going to back Matt up with cable management behind him.
It's something that they do all the time in training, so when the need's out there to go and help the public, all that training comes ahead.
It's all in the name of friendly competition, but all challenges are treated with the professionalism of dealing with a real disaster. This exercise is one of many that crews are tasked with this weekend. This challenge is rescuing a woman with a broken knee on the beach below.
Their techniques are great and the communication's fantastic, so it's great to see.
A lot of these guys here will be working with us when we go interstate to help them out or when they come here to help us, and it gives us a good base of knowledge all across Australia of all skills.
The event, hosted in South Arm this weekend, made possible by the assistance of almost 100 volunteers.
It's just amazing the SES volunteers put up their hand and dedicate so much time to the state and community.
The winning state will be announced later this evening. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Conservationists are furious after endangered swift parrot habitat was destroyed by logging in Tasmania. The coop at Tyler's Hill near Dover was clear-felled in recent months. Scientists say it's a devastating blow to the efforts to safeguard the species, questioning why the coop was logged at a time when the endangered animal comes to nest.
Although they move around, it's not that hard. Protect mature trees in important locations. That's not that hard to implement, and it's very disappointing as a conservation scientist to come to an area like this to see that even those basic kind of conservation prescriptions are obviously not being applied on the ground.
The government says discussions are ongoing to provide a landscape management plan. Data is already provided to the department on the movement of swift parrots. Tasmania's budding ballerinas have put their best foot forward, vying for a position in the state's Classical Ballet Academy. More than 50 dancers auditioned for the school, which serves as a stepping stone into prestigious academies interstate. Emily Masters is one success story, heading to Melbourne to join the Australian Ballet Company next year.
There's been a lot of hard work and training, especially training with the Tasmanian Youth Classical Ballet Company. That's helped a lot, furthering my experiences.
So it gives them exposure to different students, different teachers, different experiences, so both in Tasmania and interstate, and we hope that that will build confidence.
Those successful in today's audition will start rehearsals next year. Tasmanian company has successfully trialled new equipment, helping those with impaired mobility to experience the state's challenging terrain. It's been a life changer for one adventurous young man already tackling Mount Field.
Luke Ogden was born with a rare neurodegenerative disease. For years, it wasn't possible for him to explore Tasmania's rugged wilderness. That was until friends introduced him to the Trail Rider, a long wheel-based chair designed to allow adventurers with impaired mobility to explore.
It's a pretty rare thing that you imagine yourself ceasing to be able to do something, but then all of a sudden, something comes along that enables that access again. So for him, it was a really, really big step.
Local walking company Wild Pedder recently trialled the piece of equipment at the Mount Field National Park.
A bit of a learning experience for us in, trying to get up and over some of the rougher terrain.
Despite some challenges, the trial was a success, and for Luke, it was life-changing.
So much more energy.
Wild Pedder is now in the planning stages to host more ability expeditions such as this.
We want to see people dropping the dis in disability and really embracing what someone's ability is when it comes to discovering wild places.
Often people think that they can't do these things, and to be able to break that barrier and take them out there is very special.
Tasmania's Parks and Wildlife is investing in the Trail Rider for use at Mount Field, opening the door for those in a similar position to Luke.
A very touching experience, I'd say, being able to take someone into an experience and a part of the wilderness that they'd previously been unable to.
It was awesome. So many ideas coming to my head, like doing stuff.
One of the greatest things that you can do on Earth. So to feel, I guess, the weather on your skin, to have that sensation, the smells, even to walk across the terrain that's, so undulating, so ancient, the geologies, the floristics, the fauna, there's nothing quite like it.
Next on Luke's agenda, conquering the overland track. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
A quaint church in Longford has held a special mass to mark 150 years since its opening. But the bluestone building's story stretches back much further to a decades-long battle for support by the region's forefathers.
Standing in Longford is St Augustine's Church, a testament to the relentless spirit of its Catholic settlers.
It took a lot of skill and persistence by those who wanted to get a church here. And that's the old story, just keep grinding away.
Early plans to build a church didn't have a prayer. Poor and isolated, the local Catholic community spent 50 years lobbying the government for land and funding.
They offered to contribute by giving goods from their farms rather than cash, because they didn't have cash. So everybody rolled their sleeves up and pitched in.
It took more than 2 years to build the church. Its exterior remains largely unchanged from its opening 150 years ago. Generations of families passing through in that time.
Well, my grandfather was a surveyor in the Longford area during the late 19th century, and there were our family connections even back further than that.
Only a small congregation gathers here each Sunday. It's usually around 25 people. But much like the church itself, this community is part of Longford's fabric.
For 150 years it's been a place of worship and support for communities, and that is still present today. You actually feel that welcome and that warmth.
This church has been a sanctuary for me and strengthened my faith and kept me my faith in God.
The anniversary was marked with a special mass led by the Archbishop of Hobart, honouring the pioneer priests who fought and won for their followers. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News. The Stand Shaker Classic has produced nail-biting finishes in both the elite women's and men's races. For more, we're joined by Rick Fontaine. And Rick, there's been a great finish and a great atmosphere today.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. It's been a magic day. Beautiful weather, as you can see down here around the city park. Huge crowds of around 9,000 people packing the streets around the tight 1.1 kilometre circuit around the city park today, and they weren't disappointed. Outstanding racing in the women's today. It was a great win for Charlotte Lucas from New Zealand. She just held off Macy Stewart, who has been in magnificent form. Macy, the Devonport rider, who's off to New Zealand now to compete in the Oceania Championship. She finished second, and Josie Talbot finishing in third place. It was a great race. Macy was back with us a few moments later to sing the national anthem, a beautiful voice that she has. And the men's race, well, it was one of the biggest fields they've ever had in the history of the race. It's been going since 2003, and the Stand Shaker Cycling Classic lived up to all the expectations. Ryan Kavanagh and Alex Edmondson, well, they battled it out for about the last 10 laps, and it came down to the final corner, and with a burst of speed, Ryan Kavanagh was able to hold off Alex Edmondson to take the $3,000 cash and the Stand Shaker Cycling Classic for 2017. So it's been an unbelievable day, Tom. We've enjoyed some great racing, and a lot of people going home very, very happy today. But now it's back to you.
Wonderful work there, Rick. Thank you very much. Rick Fontaine joining us there.
Good evening. Some early drizzle in the southeast before clearing to a fine and mostly sunny day. A top of 20 in Hobart, 24 in Launceston, Burnie and Devonport getting to a top of 18 degrees. 28 the state's top at Scotts Peak, elsewhere Bushy Park 24, Grove 22, 21 at Strawn, 20 at Lyowini, 19 the top for St Helens and on King Island. Large areas of convective cloud over much of the mainland today, thunderstorms over parts of WA and the top end. A closer look and cloud about the southeast with areas of fog, but it was mostly a cloud-free day. Tomorrow the high will move away from Tasmania while a front moves slowly east over South Australia. Troughs remain over the Northern Territory and Western Australia. Northeasterly winds at 10 to 20 knots, increasing to 25 knots during the day, swells to around 1 metre in the east and up to 2 metres in the west and south. A sunny and warm day for Hobart tomorrow, a top of 27, Dover 22, Ouse a hot 29. Launceston a sunny 25, 19 in Devonport, 22 at Scottsdale. Burnie tomorrow looking at 19, Strawn a sunny 25, a cooler day in Stanley 17. 20 the high for St Helens, Swansea 24 and Ross a sunny day with a top of 26 degrees. The UV forecast now and very high right across the state. Turning to Tuesday and the fine weather continuing with a mostly sunny day. Wednesday, light rain developing about the southwest, increasing and extending to most areas by the evening. And Thursday, areas of rain with southeasterly winds. Capital cities now, Perth and Melbourne a top of 30 degrees, 34 in Adelaide, Darwin showers and 33. Sydney 23 and an afternoon shower for Canberra, 24 the top.
Well, that's all your news for now. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Good night.